What's up, everybody? Gore here, JHU Comic Books, Staten Island. Matt Rosenberg, writer extraordinaire. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Pleasure. So, your new book that comes out today, Hawkeye Freefall. You want to tell everybody a little bit about it?
Yeah. It's first of all, just to get it out there, it's Clint Barton. People are always like, is it Clint or is it Kate? It's Clint. Having two Hawkeyes is confusing, but we're taking it back to the solo Avenger, as it were. And yeah, it's his story of Clint as he finds himself. He goes up against the Hood, who I think is one of the best villains,
Absolutely.
in the Marvel universe. And the Hood's a little bit out of Clint's weight class. He's kind of scary guy, and their fight doesn't kind of go the way he wants. And Clint sort of becomes obsessed with taking down the Hood. So it's him sort of traveling down this path that even his friends are like, that's a dangerous guy. Like, you sure you want to do this alone? And meanwhile, a figure who we don't know who it is, but he's dressed like the Ronin, which is Clint's old costume, is running around terrorizing the city. So just when Clint is going on this dangerous sort of solo mission, all eyes are kind of on him because people are trying to figure out if he is Ronin, what the connection is, who the new Ronin is. So it's sort of about him moving forward in this dangerous new way while his past has sort of come back to haunt him a little bit. And it's Otto Schmidt's drawing it, and so it's beautiful, and it's just I think it's a lot of fun. There's some jokes and some action and all the things you like in comic books.
Yeah. So,
Hold up a copy here real quick. I'm the unseen voice in the background.
voice of
Yes, we know we're professional here.
So, now was this something that you pitched, that you had an idea for, or they kind of threw at you and gave you the option to write?
Yeah, I did a book like a year and a half, 2 years ago, called Tales of Suspense. That was a Hawkeye and Bucky book.
Right.
Team up, like sort of a buddy comedy thing. They were trying to find the Black Widow. She was missing or dead, or they couldn't figure out what's going on. And I just loved writing Clint. He's always been one of my favorites. Like the Mark Grunwald Hawkeye book and the old Avenger Spotlight books are some of my favorite comics of all time. And I just had a blast writing him. And while I was working on it, they were like, Marvel really enjoyed the book, and they said to me, like, you should think about doing a Hawkeye book. And I immediately turned around and like the next day was like, here's my pitch. It's just sort of a dream book for me. And they were like, yeah, and they were very into it. And then as Tales of Suspense ended, I moved on to Uncanny X-Men, and The Punisher got extended. And I was like, I really want to take time and really like do a book like Hawkeye right and focus on it and give it all my attention. So we sort of put it on the back burner for a while. Marvel was very cool about that, and Clint went off and was on the West Coast Avengers and doing his own stuff. And but now I'm off X-Men and Punisher wrapped, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to do Hawkeye. So we launched into it. Yeah.
Okay. So now, speaking of Punisher and X-Men,
Yes.
two questions that I'm just curious. So now, having wrapped such an amazing run on the Punisher, how do you feel your reception and potential future for the Punisher has been kind of laid out? Do you feel like you're 2020's Garth Ennis, so to speak?
No. Garth Ennis is 2020's Garth Ennis.
No, I know that, but I mean, like,
No, I mean,
dude, you introduced a new aspect to the Punisher that, I mean, they made a Marvel legend of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's pretty big.
it was awesome. No, I'm a huge Punisher fan, and Garth is my, that's the pinnacle of Punisher. There's no debate on who the greatest Punisher writer of all time is. Second place, you could debate all day, I think. But I was always nervous about my take on it because I know Punisher fans are very particular. I know this because I'm a lifelong Punisher fan. I grew up with a Mike Zeck Punisher poster on my bedroom door. But the fans were really awesome and really receptive. I mean, we got 27 issues in this day and age for a character like the Punisher. That's, we're the second longest. After Garth, we're the second longest run of the last 20 years on Punisher.
Pretty huge.
Yeah, it's crazy. And fans have been really awesome, but I also know that Marvel has a bunch of stuff coming up that with the Punisher it's really cool. Like, he's been in Savage Avengers and it's great. I'm happy to see where it's going, and obviously Garth is back and doing Punisher Soviet now, and it's so good. It's always embarrassing when you like finish 2.5 years of work and I was like, who's coming after me? And they're like, oh, Gart's coming back. And I was like, God, you couldn't get someone bad to come in and do it so people could miss me for a minute. But no, I mean, it's you know, I'm really proud of the stuff we did, and fans, Punisher fans were some of the nicest, kindest, coolest fans in comics. I was blown away because he's an intense character, and intense characters sometimes bring out intense people. Punisher fans were awesome to me from not from day one, because when we announced that we were putting him in the War Machine armor, everyone was super upset. Yeah. They were just like, that's dumb. And I was like, I get why you think that. Give me 2 issues. Like, if it's 2 issues, you don't like it, walk away. But I never had so many people who were just like, oh, I thought this was dumb when I heard about it, and I love it. And so it's been great. I mean, I'm really proud of the work, and I'm excited to see where he goes just as a fan now. I always have a soft spot for Frank, and I'd love to come back to him someday, but I'm excited to see. I know some of the stuff that's coming, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now with Uncanny X-Men, by the way, dude, that run, dude, you knocked it out of the park. That was home run, straight up. As a lifelong X-Men fan, I have to say, from X-Men being the top book that I would always read to being the bottom of the stack to again being the top book that as soon as I pulled it out of the box, it was like, no, I gotta take 5 minutes. Like, I have to read this.
Oh, thanks.
Rosenberg is killing this run.
Thank you.
Do you feel that you kind of laid the groundwork for what Hickman wound up doing now with Dawn of X and everything?
I mean, it's a weird situation. Normally, when you do a book, like, there's sort of, you do what you want, and then as long as you don't break anything too bad, the next guy sort of has to come in and follow your lead. With X-Men, with Uncanny specifically, like, Jonathan was already working, and we knew what he was doing.
Right.
We knew roughly his start date and what his plans were, so my job on Uncanny was not the normal, like, just go out and do stuff and we'll figure it out, we'll figure out the next thing later. I was getting to where he was going.
Like an end
Jonathan, when I started on Uncanny, it was me and Kelly Thompson, Ed Brisson, and Jonathan came in and talked to us about what he was doing for the next 2-3 years. Like, he went through 3 years of plans.
Cool.
And then they were like, Jonathan is taking them to bringing them out. This is a new bright place, but you guys are the end of an era of X-Men. This is, Marvel has funny things that you don't realize, you don't know. Like, internally, the way they think about things are, like, very cool and interesting, but they were like, the X-Men works in eras, and there are eras, and they were like, this will be the end of an era. And I was like, when does this era start? And they were like, Grant Morrison. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, what starts with Grant's new X-Men ends with you guys. And so that was our thing, was to end the era of X-Men. And they were like, tell the last X-Men story if you want. And we knew, I don't want to say too much about House of X and Powers of 10 and stuff, because I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it, but you should read it. Beautiful hardcover out now. But there were certain things we could do that we knew we could do because of what he was going to do. There were certain rules that we could break in how we played with the X-Men and what we did. And Marvel wanted sort of a loving throwback, and I'm a huge Claremont fan and stuff, and so, like, they said to me once, they were like, think of the Outback Saga and Fall of the Mutants and all these things of just, like, the dark X-Men fighting for their lives. Like, we're taking them to a different place now. Like, say goodbye to that stuff. And so I was like, all right, that's, you're speaking my language. That's what I grew up reading. So that was, so it's a really unique situation. So, like, in some ways, I mean, Jonathan would be doing what Jonathan's going to do regardless, but we were, I knew where it was going. So my job was to just sort of blow up the car so that he could come out with a shiny new car.
Right.
Which is a weird one, but it was fun. It's an honor. And obviously, anytime your name appears on something that says X-Men, to me, is like the highest honor in comics. So, it was a real thrill. And and now again, I get to be a fan and just be like looking at all the Dawn of X stuff and just so excited.
Cool. Yeah. Now, you got anything else you're working on? Anything in the pipeline you want to give us a little?
Yeah. I'm doing Hawkeye Freefall right now. First issue's out now.
Is this an ongoing or is this a miniseries?
Let's find out how many people buy it.
Okay.
Well, now I pitched it to Marvel as I was like, I like a story that has an end. I like a definite, like a miniseries or a maxi series. I like something where I can be like, this is the point. We're getting somewhere with a character. I feel like a lot of fans in the last 10, 15 years have taken the idea that miniseries don't matter, that they don't change the characters. And I think for me and my class of writers who came into Marvel, like Donnie and Chip Zdarsky and Ed Brisson, Kelly Thompson, like all of us are big fans of the miniseries. And the idea that like they matter just as much, and like let's do big epic things in the books. And I think you see it now in a lot of the books we're all doing of like, you know, look at Donnie Silver Surfer or Ed Brisson's like Dead Man Logan, and it's like these are fundamentally changing the characters in a miniseries format. Like, I in today's climate, like asking people like to invest forever in a comic is awesome, but being able to also just be like, this is 6 issues and you'll love it, and then we're going to give you a totally different thing, is really fun. It's a really fun challenge to like get people excited every 6 months about a new book. So. So I pitched Hawkeye as a 6-issue thing, and they said, you know, people are pretty excited. Could you do more? And I said, yeah, this is what more would be. So I have it ready to go, but if we end up being 6 issues, then that's the story I set out to tell, and I think it's going to be a like pretty groundbreaking. It's going to be a Clint Barton shaking him to his core kind of book, which I'm excited about.
It starts off with a bang, so
thank you.
You're on the road for that.
And then after that, next month I'm doing Force Works.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a title I loved when I was a kid, and ties into Dan Slott's Iron Man 2020 event, which, you know, Dan walked me through it, and I thought it was awesome, and was like, this would be fun to play with. And then they were like, yeah, we're looking for a Force Works book, and I was like, can I get a U.S. agent? And they were like, yeah, and I was like, then I'm in. Like, so I'm doing Force Works, and it's U.S. Agent and War Machine, Quake and Mockingbird. I can't talk too much about it, but it's out next month. It's out in February. Juan Ramirez is drawing it, and it looks awesome. Cool. And then I have a bunch of stuff I can't talk about. The only other thing I can talk about is I'm doing a new book at Image with my buddy Tyler Boss, who did Four Kids Walking on a Bank with me. We're doing a book called What's the Furthest Place from Here, and that'll be out in the late spring, we're hoping.
Okay.
Sort of a post-apocalyptic coming-of-age story. Mm-hmm. It's about gangs of kids who live in the wasteland after the end of the world, and follows a group of kids who live in a record store, and they're trying to figure out how the world works after it has ended. So we're really excited about that, and gonna have a giant-sized first issue, and we're trying to do a bunch of cool stuff for it. So
cool.
So yeah,
cool.
And everything else I'm doing is still classified.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Matt Rosenberg, Gore Jones here at JHU Comics in Staten Island, New York. Come visit us. Make sure you pick up this fella's new book. Hawkeye Freefall #1 is on sale today. We'll have copies in Staten Island and in Manhattan. And for those of you in our Manhattan location, Matt will be there tomorrow.
What's the date of that?
That is January the 3rd.
2nd.
Oh, excuse me. January 2nd, 2020. I'm a little hungover.
It's we all are.
It's New Year's Day.
It's New Year's Day right now as we're recording
All
this.
right, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure. Come check us out. JHU Comic Books. Peace.